The horrifying and sorrowful tale commences in a typical day in Japan's urban center. While the populace go about their daily routines, an immense black hole materializes abruptly in the middle of a street, pulling in multiple individuals. Concurrently, gargantuan creatures emerge, wreaking havoc on human existence and annihilating any animate entity that crosses their path. As the days pass, the black hole expands, impeding rescuers, military personnel, and other services from accessing it to save those in peril. Those in proximity to the gaping hole realize that it connects to an entirely different and dreadful realm. Furthermore, the occurrence was not limited to that city, as numerous holes emerged concurrently in countless cities worldwide. The world had descended into a veritable inferno, and just as all hope appeared to be lost, the holes materialized. From these holes emerged metahumans, individuals with unimaginable powers, classified into different categories. The immortals were those impervious to death, even in the face of grievous injuries. Then there were shapeshifters, capable of transforming into deadly beasts from the animal kingdom. Finally, there were the ordinary people who wielded spells and dark magic. These warriors emerged to defend humanity, and soon, peace was restored. However, the year of their arrival was forever etched in history as a time of terror and became known as the Terrible Year, a memory that would never fade. As time passed, however, these special beings began to be feared by humans. The rift between humans and metahumans deepened due to a pernicious rumor that spread through the populace. It was said that metahumans possessed dangerous molecules that posed a severe threat to humans. This led to the human metagroup fracturing. The immortals aligned themselves with the government, while the shifters conspired with a global corporation. Eventually, they established their own organization, vanishing into the shadows. Fast forward 29 years, and we are introduced to our protagonist, Geck. While shopping with his father reveals a secret that Geck has the power of an immortal running through his veins. As it turns out, his father is a metahuman with such abilities. As a result, Geck is expected to possess these powers too. His father reveals that they will awaken on Geck's 24th birthday, precisely at 11 p.m., as that is the time he was born. However, his father warns him not to tell his mother, as it may lead to their divorce. His father notices that Geck appears stronger than before, effortlessly carrying the heavy shopping bags. He assumes that Geck must have been attending the gym, but in reality, Geck spends most of his time at home sleeping and doing homework, not engaging in any physical training. When they arrive home, Geck's parents become affectionate towards each other, and another secret is revealed: Geck's mother is a shapeshifter. As a result, the main character possesses incredible strength due to his mother's shapeshifting abilities. However, she urges him to keep their secret, leaving Geck to contemplate his parents' love for each other but also their fear of being discovered as metahumans. On Geck's birthday, his parents ask him if he wants a special gift, but he declines, expressing his gratitude for having them as the best gift. His proud parents are moved to tears by his words. As night falls, Geck becomes nervous, waiting for 11 p.m. He recalls his father's words about the symptoms he will experience when he obtains the power of an immortal. Firstly, he will feel very cold, followed by heightened senses, and finally, a surge of heat throughout his body. As the transformation process begins, the pain that the protagonist experiences is excruciating. However, he manages to endure it and obtains the powers of an immortal. Along with his newfound strength, his senses become even sharper. However, he still has to deal with the shapeshifter's sensitivity to loud sounds, as the slightest noise can be bothersome. Humanity is currently afraid of abnormal people, which is why the protagonist wonders if he can keep his Medi's identity hidden. Despite his concerns, he decides to go out to eat with his family. During the meal, he notices that everyone eats an unusual amount of food, and only the metahumans seem to have that ability. The fact that their parents have been together for so long and still don't notice this detail strikes him as odd. Later, the protagonist's father brings up the idea of him taking the civil service exam. However, his mother disagrees and wants him to have a normal life, attend university, and get a good job in a company. This disagreement surprises the protagonist, and he remembers what his mother had explained to him about shapeshifters and their desire for a normal life. In the past, Gu's mother had explained to him that daily exercise is crucial for shapeshifters. It helps them control their animal instincts, which can be dangerous if not kept in check. Even when they manage to control it, there might still be moments when they lose their minds. Therefore, she wants her son to focus on studying and working to prevent such situations from happening. She even suggests that his grandfather could help him get a good job in a big company. Back to the present, Gu's parents let him decide for himself what he wants to do. He expresses his desire to join the UDTA military force, but his mother strongly opposes the idea. She fears that being in such a unit would increase the likelihood of his powers being exposed. Despite not intending to take the civil service exam, Gu decides to do so as he sees it as the only way to pursue his dream of joining the UDTA military force. His father supports him and arranges for private training sessions with an old acquaintance. However, Gu's mother is against it as she fears that his powers will be exposed. To prepare for the exam, Gu studies hard, and on the way, he comes across news about a white hole which is said to be the main entrance to another world. This other world is filled with valuable resources such as new metals, plants, and animals. However, that area is infested with monsters that emerge from the black hole, and only metahumans, specifically shapeshifters, possess the strength to fight there. The protagonist's father contacts a soldier and urges him not to go easy on his son, to teach him strictly. When they meet, the soldier is surprised by the protagonist's physique, as immortals don't usually have enormous strength or muscle mass. The soldier speculates that it may be due to mixed blood, as the protagonist's mother also has thick blood. This statement leaves the protagonist intrigued, as he never revealed that his mother is a shapeshifter. As they venture deep into the forest, they arrive at a field where the protagonist, intrigued and somewhat scared, asks the soldier what he intends to teach him. The man noticed a small cut on the protagonist and pointed out the importance of prioritizing the healing of the body as an immortal. He also explained that the senses should be the second priority, as weak senses can lead to unbearable pain and loss of consciousness during combat. The protagonist was still confused about his training and expected a paper and pencil exam rather than deadly traps. The man clarified that such training was necessary to join the special forces, as a soldier and an immortal must be ready for any contingency. The protagonist is hesitant and scared but ultimately decides to trust the soldier's judgment. He runs towards the blades, intentionally being cut multiple times. Although the pain is excruciating, he notices that his wounds are healing faster than before. The soldier commends his progress but warns him that he must continue to push himself to his limits to master his abilities fully. The protagonist continues to make his way through the blades, cutting himself repeatedly. Wonk asks him how long he should keep doing this, to which the soldier replies that he should continue until the shock awakens. This will help him increase his pain threshold and prevent him from feeling pain. When the protagonist expresses annoyance at this painful training, he asks if there's another way to pass. The soldier responds that if he crosses the 50 meters of blades in 6 seconds or less, he will pass the training. Despite feeling surprised, the determined protagonist accepts the challenge and successfully crosses the blades in under 6 seconds, impressing the soldier. The second training begins, where Guan is instructed to put on a necklace that will strangle him for 5 minutes. He must hold his breath during this time, which is essential for an immortal. The protagonist is instructed by the trainer to endure the pain caused by the activated collar for 5 minutes in order to pass the test. Despite feeling extreme pain, the protagonist is determined to endure it. However, the collar continues to cause pain even after the 5 minutes have passed. The protagonist tries to remove it, but the trainer stops him and warns him of the danger of doing so. As time goes by, the trainer becomes increasingly concerned as more than 12 minutes have passed and the collar is still active. Just when Guan is at his limit, the collar finally stops and the trainer is left puzzled about the malfunction. The protagonist shattered the Amor world record, but to avoid drawing attention, he decides to fabricate a story. However, he notices a rare expression of excitement on his trainer's face, who then treats him to a meal that can only be described as demonic. When the protagonist returns home, he tries to call his father, but remembers that his phone was confiscated during training. Back at home, the darkness becomes a test for him, but he manages to sleep with ease due to his well-developed sense of touch. Next, the soldier orders Guan to climb a tall tree and jump from it. Guan is scared, but he trusts the soldier and climbs up. Once he reaches the top, he hesitates for a moment but jumps down, crashing into the ground. He feels immense pain but quickly realizes that his bones are healing rapidly. The soldier tells him that he must learn to control his fear and pain to become an excellent soldier. Despite the intense training, Guan feels a sense of accomplishment and excitement for the first time. He realizes that being an immortal and a shapeshifter is a gift that he must learn to control and use for the greater good. After days of training, the protagonist finally returns home and calls his father to complain about how close he came to death during training. After arriving at the hidden location, the protagonist discovers that his mother had deceived him yet again. Instead of resting, he is expected to train his physical abilities and master the art of shape-shifting. His mother had hired a teacher to assist him in his training. The trainer gives the protagonist some measuring devices to track his heart rate during his first training, which involves running. However, the protagonist's weak heart rate reveals his laziness. The trainer emphasizes the importance of cardio for shape-shifting and the protagonist continues running for 14 hours. The trainer also teaches him stretches to improve his flexibility, explaining that a lack of flexibility can be a disadvantage. As the protagonist begins to feel out of breath, he remembers his training on the hill and how his previous teacher warned him that blocking his senses was not enough. The protagonist realizes that if he weakens one sense, his movement would be disastrous. His previous teacher had warned him that simply blocking one sense was not enough, and that he needed to develop the ability to multitask with his senses. With this in mind, the protagonist begins to time himself as he runs while simultaneously memorizing the stretches from the video and listening attentively to his current teacher's explanations. After completing 24 hours of running without rest, the protagonist moves on to the second test, which involves stretching. His teacher demonstrates a series of stretches and then instructs him to try them himself. However, the protagonist finds it difficult to perform the stretches, and his teacher advises him not to push himself too hard. She explains that flexibility requires time and patience and that muscles must be gradually torn in order to achieve greater flexibility. At this point, the protagonist recalls that he is an immortal and that he can quickly recover from muscle injuries, so he is not afraid of pushing himself to the limit.